you're not grieving for what you had, because I had a good marriage. You're grieving the future of what you think your future would have looked like.
Yeah. Okay.
I just didn't want to see people. I didn't want to explain and tell the story 1,000 times and where and why and how and what are you going to do. It was a huge, huge, huge test of faith.
Hello, viewers. Welcome to episode number 10. This is our final episode, and we have a beautiful guest today. Her name is Shereen. She will introduce herself as always. Just want to remind you, viewers, today to say, please don't forget to go to our YouTube channel. It's a space to breathe. Don't forget to like, to share, to comment, and subscribe. Remember, subscription is for free. Shereen, welcome.
Thank you very much, Noni. Thanks for having me on
Thank
your
you for
show.
making the time. Really, I know that you're a busy woman, but you managed to give us some time today. So thank you so much. I'm just going to give you this opportunity to introduce yourself.
Sure.
So tell us about you. What do you do? And tell us about the widow. We're going to talk about this widow journey.
Yes, this widow journey.
Yeah.
So my name is Shereen Hunter. I'm the owner of a brand management agency. That's my core business, African Brand Architects, and I'm passionate about building business in Africa.
Yeah.
So I've been in the marketing space for about 25 years now.
Sure.
Stumbled into it by default. I was actually studying law at Wits, and I was given the opportunity to go into corporate.
Really?
And I took it with both hands. So I did do my degree through Wits, but then never pursued a career in law. And stumbled into marketing and was very well taken care of in the corporate space. And then from there, when I in later years got married and had a daughter, resigned from corporates because I couldn't travel as much as what I would have, in the commercial world. I had my daughter very late, 33 years old.
Sure.
And then wanted to give her my time. But as you would know, when you're a businesswoman, it's very hard to give up the thing that you love.
Yes.
So fortunately, I made a decision, which I appreciated in later years, and we'll talk about it today, to, even though I stepped out of corporate, I immediately stepped into my own business, but worked mornings only, so that I could still be a good wife, mom, and have the best of all of the worlds. I wanted my cake. I wanted to eat it and with icing. So
And cherry on
then
top.
kept my business. Yeah. So
lovely.
I mean, I suppose the thing that people know me for the best is business, because that's the thing that I'm the most passionate about. But also very passionate about the core family, being a good mom, being a good life partner.
Oh, thank you so much for that. And now we get to this thing. The widow.
I hate that word. You know.
I know.
There are so many stereotypes around it.
And I know. And I think, remember, even when we said, I called it an unwanted title because nobody wants this title. And it's not something that you planned or you wanted. So maybe tell us about yourself. Going through that.
So I think, coming back to the title of widow, I think, the narrative has changed so much in the last 50 years. If we rewind, the story in time back 50 years ago when women were considered second-rate citizens, were not allowed to work, largely stayed home and were caregivers, I think that there was a much bigger crisis when the breadwinner passed away for women in the context of widowhood.
Yeah.
I think fast forward that tape to 2025 and the landscape looks completely different.
Yep.
And the one thing that I'm very passionate about is reframing that narrative because now women can work, they can get an education, they can provide for themselves.
Yep.
And so one of the things that I've done very consciously in the last 5 years since my late husband passed away is to reframe that narrative so that when you say that you're a single parent raising a child, you don't get the shame.
Oh, tell me about shame.
Because sometimes I look at people who are married and I go, shame. My life is a lot better. So I'm very passionate about being empowered as a woman.
Yes.
And standing in your own light and being independent financially. And like I said, I was very fortunate that when I did decide to have a child, I didn't step out completely of a career. I still maintained a level of financial independence. And that served me 17 years later.
Sure.
When I did become a single parent through a partner that had passed away, I was very grateful that I didn't have a break in my career. And I was able to continue scale my business and, the rest is history.
Sure. And I can't now imagine the challenges that you experience after you've lost your husband. Maybe take us through the moment or the before and the after, where if you were to look at yourself right now, did your purpose change? Was it still the same from the before and the after?
I think initially, a good friend of mine invited me to a conference, John Sanai. He's a futurist.
Yeah.
And he spoke about grieving future memories. Ooh. And I realized that is actually the problem. You're not grieving for what you had, because I had a good marriage. You're grieving the future of what you think your future would have looked like.
Yeah.
That's where all the heartache lies.
Yeah.
And so to let go of the plans that you had for the future and to consider that this picture is going to look completely different. That was quite tough. And I always explain to people the first year or two, it was a blank canvas. I couldn't picture what my future was going to look like because my identity was so rooted in being Mrs. Hunter that I couldn't separate myself from that.
Yeah.
And what made it harder is wherever I went, that's how people greeted me. In fact, my whole married life, people never said Shereen out of respect for him.
Yes.
They always greeted me as Mrs. Hunter. So after he passed away, people didn't know my name. They weren't quite sure.
Ooh.
Hi, ma'am. And I'd say Shereen.
Oh my goodness! I'm actually having goosebumps here right now to say. So your identity was just lost.
It was completely lost, and not lost in a bad way.
Yes,
I think
of course.
this happens to many women. You partner and you become so immersed in your new life as wife and mother that you lose yourself completely in that and continue to do it.
Yeah,
and that's part of the duty we carry. I think from generation to generation, wife and mother.
Yeah.
But so it was very tough the first while. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I liked to eat. I didn't know where I wanted to go on holiday. Everything in my life revolved around what he wanted.
Yeah.
So finding myself was tough.
Yeah.
It was very, very tough.
Sure. And how many years later now?
5.
Now it's 5 years.
Yes.
And how does your picture look like from then to now?
No, totally different. I mean, it took time for me to let go of the identity and then to start exploring and adventuring, as I say, reaching out. So I started doing things on my own, doing travel trips on my own, going to events by myself.
Oh my goodness.
Things that I always felt like I needed to go with someone. I've pushed myself. And I think that, that's a personality trait. You need to be able to push yourself into uncomfortable environments and built up new networks and new friendship circles of people who thought differently. So it was a very uncomfortable transformation.
Sure.
But I realized, something's got to change for things to change.
Yeah.
So I moved from one side of the city to the other side of the city.
Oh, wow.
I tapped into different networks in terms of business. I rekindled friendships from school days and university days, people I'd lost touch with for many years.
Yeah.
And then slowly but surely, and it took years to rediscover myself again until eventually where I am now to say, this is what I like, this is where I'm going, this is how I want to do it. And now I have very firm boundaries. So definitely evolved into a far stronger version of the person that I used to be.
And when you say that, I always tell people that I'm no longer the noni that I used to be. And they say it's quite early. Fair enough, it's quite early, but I can see it. I can see it and I can feel it as well to say I'm no longer that noni. And as much as I tried my best, though, for people to remember my name. I think in working on my own personal brand, I had to always say people must remember my name. But he was very big on his surname as well. Wherever you go, you must be remembered. It is a mouth thing.
Very proud.
Very proud. So right now I'm sitting with a group of fellow widows in our WhatsApp group, and it's quite fairly new. I mean, the recent lady that's just joined us, I think it's a month now. And she's just shattered like everybody else. We know what the experience is. We know what the first months are and how it goes, right? In that, how do you have the conversation of a purpose with that kind of a person?
Well, I think firstly you've got to redefine your purpose, because if for however long your relationship was, your purpose was first, which it often is, God first, then my spouse, wife, huge part of your purpose, then my children. Then that family is shattered or fragmented for whatever reason. And a part of your purpose is it breaks down. So to rediscover what am I actually here for now is a huge question. But you'll never rediscover that purpose sitting at home on the couch. Right?
Okay, hold on. Okay.
It's not going to happen, Nondi. I'm going to get off the couch.
It's because I'm feeling guilty right now.
Are you?
I'm feeling guilty right now. I'm like, I think for the couple of days I didn't want to leave the house. You know how it is. I'm like, no, I'm not going anywhere. Yeah. But you feel that you feel alive when as soon as you get into a car and you leave the house. You feel different. You know, you're allowing yourself to go through the emotions. But how do we then? Where must the energy come from, though, Shereen?
So first of all, let's be realistic. I mean, the first year I didn't leave my house.
Okay.
I was at home on the couch for a year.
Okay.
Some days I didn't get out of my pajamas. It's actually a miracle that my business survived.
Okay.
I just didn't want to see people. I didn't want to explain and tell the story 1,000 times and where and why and how and what are you going to do. And, you know, the worst thing is I was very young, so mid-40s, and you're like, there's no one left and you're going to be on your own forever and all this that you don't want to hear.
Yes.
So I avoided people to guard my heart. The Bible says above all things, guard your heart, because out of it flows the issues of life.
Hallelujah.
So I knew in my heart, even though I was grieved, that I had a bright future ahead of me, because I know my personality. And I didn't want to hear other people's negativity.
Sure.
So I don't want to be rude and say, you have no idea what you're talking about. God has selected, handpicked for me a future that is beautiful, especially when you're grieving. People will just give you the side eye. But,
to say, what future are you talking about?
I had an inward knowing that my future would still be bright, even though this was a short-lived chapter.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I stayed away from people. I guarded my heart and I gave myself permission to grieve. Fortunately, I had my own business. If I was working for a company, I think it changes the whole picture. Because if I had to be at work at 5 o'clock and I had to be there till, start at 8 and finish at 5, you don't have permission to allow yourself to grieve. I could stay at home for 3 weeks in my pajamas and it was my business. I could work from home, Zoom, whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm very grateful for that. I know not everybody has that privilege. That made a huge difference in my healing, much better. Once it was done, it was done. But it took a year. So timing is very important. The next thing is you won't really know what your purpose is unless you start exploring new paths. So you will stumble across it, serendipity. It's in mixing with people and traveling that you start different conversations, and you don't really know what your future holds.
Yeah.
You only discover your future by embracing it, by moving into it. It's an unfair question to ask someone, even a year or two down the road, listen, what is your purpose? Because you wouldn't really know. You know when you know.
They're still searching for it. They're
You're
still
looking for it.
Yeah.
But you have to have faith that it will come to you. If you go down the path and you open yourself up to people and to relationships and to love and to peace, it will come to you. You don't actually have to go out and pursue it.
Oh, I like that.
Because I've stumbled into the things that make me so happy now. I would never have known. How would I have known this 5 years ago, that I would be so happy today? I wouldn't know that.
You know, when you're saying that, it's coming to something that I'm actually currently experiencing right now. You know, as I'm running my own business and stuff, I'm starting to think, I don't like that anymore. Probably I was doing it because I think I wanted to do it. But it is having those different engagement with different people from different networks that are starting to trigger these conversations in my own head now to say, do you really want to be here? Do you really want to do this? You know, then you get a confusion emotion or feeling after I've done maybe a session or a presentation to people and I'm like, no, man, I still like doing this whole thing, because I also got questioned about, you know how social media is. They'll always say, it was too early for you to go on social media. It was too early for you to actually do the podcast. Couldn't you just give yourself a year?
No.
And I'm like, but this is my healing journey. This is me healing, because I'm having this conversation with these beautiful people that are coming to the podcast, and they're sharing their experiences, and I'm also learning during the process. Now, I had believed that I understood my purpose, because that's where the birth of Space to Breathe came about. Because I said to myself, God, why this journey? Why should I go through this, right? And I said, okay, you must give me the purpose of this, and I picked up that I love educating people. I love empowering people. Then he said, then that's why I gave you this, for you to go through that. And the more I do it, the more I'm enjoying it. But there's this aspect of, am I not feeling drained? Maybe I'm doing it too much. Does it get to a point whereby you are doing too much and you feel like your body now wants to shut down? What do you do in that situation?
I was a workhorse. So that 12 months that I could stay at home, I was busy all the time. I didn't sit still.
Yeah.
Because idle mind is the devil's playground. So I would get up early, I would go to gym, I would go on long walks, I would come home, I would cook meals, I would pack cupboards right. I did a lot of writing on social media, a lot of blog posts, because it's in the writing that you are processing all of that. It's as you rightly say, it is your healing journey.
Yeah.
And I did have, like you, a lot of people saying, you're working too hard, it's work. And I'm like, I'm flipping loving it. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Leave me be. I'm not bothering you. I'm not interfering with you. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
And, I thought about it, because when anybody is going through a tough time, you find a crutch.
Yeah.
Some people will drink.
Yes.
Other people use drugs.
Yeah.
Other people turn to sexual misconduct, if you want to call it that way.
Whichever,
My crutch was business. So, and I thought, if I have to pick a crutch, I'm going to pick the crutch that's going to benefit me and my daughter the most, because my higher consciousness is not damaging her.
Yes.
So that's my crutch. And if you want to judge me for being a workhorse, and that's my way of dealing with time and pain, it's on you. Leave me be. This is my journey.
Sure.
Not hurting you. I'm not interrupting you. I'm not distracting you. I'm not judging you.
Yeah.
You do you.
And you leave it at that.
And I was quite thick-skinned in that way.
Right?
Yeah.
And does it also help to have a support system for you while you're going through that? Or what kind of a support system did you get during that time?
I probably had an excellent support system in that I had very supportive parents who, if I said, I don't want to see you, they stayed away. And I want to say
Lucky you.
That's great. No, it is, because a lot of people are very interfering. The family are on top of you all the time when you're grieving, and they're worried, and they're in your space, and they want to take control and control you.
Yeah.
I was very fortunate that I could some days just phone my mom and say, I'm not in the mood, even for my daughter. Can you pick her up and take her for the weekend? I just need time out. And she wouldn't ask why and, judge me for being a bad mom. She would stop at the house, pick up my daughter and take her for 3 days so that I could just sit and stare out the window for 3 days trying to figure my life out. So I did have good support in that they gave me space. Some people want people around them.
Yeah.
I didn't want people around me. So my family created the ring fence around me to give me space on my own to be alone.
Yeah.
And for me, that was great support. And then obviously through business, other businesswomen that would come and stop and just drop off dinner for the evening or give me a weekend away somewhere to just go and be blessed. I had a client in Dubai.
Yeah.
She flew my daughter and I over to the UAE, spoiled my daughter rotten, booked us in a beautiful hotel, pampered us.
Yeah.
So, I did. But again, the support came from years and years and years of nurturing relationships. And I always say to people, friends are important.
Yes.
I think you've heard me speak about it. Friends are important because when things go really pear-shaped in your life, you don't get instant friends. You must have looked after those relationships over time. And then when you really need it, those people
will jump in.
Step up.
Yeah.
So I did have a very good support structure.
Lovely. And when you talk about that as well, I think same with me, especially when it comes to my siblings as well. My mom, well, sometimes she doesn't listen when I say.
Do any moms listen?
When I say, Mom, not this weekend, and she wanna go in, she's like, I'm coming, I'm gonna cook and do all of those things.
Yeah.
But when you going through the whole emotions, how did your spiritual journey look like through it? How was it? Yeah.
Big sigh. I was a pastor's wife. So,
oh my.
what do you do when you're laying hands and praying for other people for their healing, but your husband is busy dying? It was a huge test of faith for both of us, because he was dying, praying for people to live, right? So I will be honest with you, it was a very silent time with me in my spiritual walk with God. I wasn't having many conversations with God. I wasn't angry with God in any way. I believe we're born and we have to die, and the timing of your death doesn't matter. The Bible says actually we cry when children are born and rejoice when someone dies. So I was okay with that, but I didn't have a lot to say. I was just say, well, I've got nothing to say, Lord. Your will be done. What can we do? So I had a quiet acceptance of what it was in that time. And even the year after he passed away, I won't say I was like on fire, praise and worshiping and praying. I was quiet. I think sometimes God listens to our hearts. We don't have to speak. And I was quite absent out of church. I didn't feel like people because he was such a big person in the ministry environment, and it's a million questions and all of that. And I didn't feel like the people. People for me were very draining in the beginning. And then slowly, as the years have unfolded, now God hears me all day, every day. So conversations with God. and there's some things you'll never understand, and I don't need to understand. I accept.
And there were no expectation from the church to say, now you must actually step up, pastor's wife.
No.
With responsibilities and so forth.
Not at all.
That's lovely.
Actually, they stepped back and they gave me space. I think because of my personality, Noni, people know if I'm upset, leave me alone. They know. Even the pastors, like, I'm seeing you later. Bye, Shereen.
Not today.
Leave her. So I had a lot of respect. People just stepped back and just gave me the space to do what I needed to do. And because I moved across the city, there was no expectation of me to fellowship in the same church. So I visited different ministries, in my own time. Until I could find, what I want to call home.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lovely.
No pressure.
And no pressure.
No pressure.
And I think that's another challenging thing, that probably because you're coming from a specific home, you're expected probably to come back to that specific home. And only to find out that probably you're no longer connecting with that specific home. You need a different environment, different people, so that you can really find yourself, because you're trying to redefine your own journey now. Maybe that church was connected more because of your husband, or because of your spouse. So probably to the viewers out there, just want to say, maybe church members, please give your fellow people some space. And allow them, should it be that they don't find themselves coming back to the church, just be the support system, check in, because sometimes currently I feel a bit of an obligation to say you're obligated to come back. And I'm like, no. And strangely, I'm having a conversation with my daughter, and I'm asking her, where do you want to go? And like you said, we are busy going to different churches in the closer areas, and we're just, and one thing she said to me, she said, Mommy, I'm looking for a place where there's a church ministry for me and I'm able to connect with God. And I said to her, okay, we're going to try that. And right now she's starting to pick up the places that she's starting to connect. And I'm like, okay, I'll give you the space. Because when I'm going in there, the same environment that you're talking about, I'm feeling the connection as well. Does the spiritual conversation that you had with God guide you in terms of where your home should be?
Definitely. I mean, I think home is a feeling. So I think what makes it easier to make the changes is that I always say God ended my marriage, not me.
Oh, Shereen, that's so deep.
But it's true. God closed the door. He closed that chapter. He ended that story. So now I get to pick up the pieces of that and have a new beginning. And that was God's idea, for me to have a new life and continue life as I am now. That was God's idea, right?
Sure.
So I don't have to feel guilty about that.
Yeah.
Say, God, you know why that lasted 17 years. And you know why I had to do the next leg on my own. And you know who is in my future. And if you are comfortable in Christ,
Yes,
you can embrace the changes. There will be a lot of people around you who judge you.
Yeah.
But it's not their journey. It's very easy to sit on the sidelines when you're happily married with 3 kids at home on the couch saying, did you see where Shereen went? And did you see who Shereen was talking to? But they're not walking in my shoes. And they don't have a direct line to God's intention for my life. That conversation is happening between me and God. So I just keep myself in a place of right standing, in peace, in joy, in good intention. And the hardest thing to do, I think, if I have to think about widowhood, if you want to talk about that, is contending with the opinions of other people, resisting the pressure from the community, from family, from friends, from work associates, that you have to now live your life a certain way or walk in the footsteps that were there before.
Sure. You know, you already actually went in there because I was going to talk about the lessons of redefining your purpose, and you just went there. But now let's talk about the dreams.
Yes.
And your goals at this point in time.
Yes.
Where is Shereen going?
So I mean, talking about dreams, my dreams never died. Lionel died. You have a choice.
Sure. That's
when your
deep.
partner dies. Whether your dreams die with your partner or whether your dreams stay alive.
Sure.
So I chose that my dreams will stay alive. I chose, a dream for me was to always be healthy, to be in shape, be fit. That dream continues.
Yeah.
My dream was always to build and grow a business. That dream has continued. My dream was to travel the world. I continue with that. My dream is to be happy in my future, to be in love in my future. That dream has not died.
Sure.
You can't allow yourself to die. And you can't allow your dreams to die. You have every right, as long as there's breath in your lungs and life in your body, to continue your life and to continue with your dreams.
Yeah. You know, in wrapping up now, I just want to give you this opportunity because there's a lot, and I'm also processing as you're
Noni, keep your dreams alive.
As you're sharing, I'm actually also processing, you know, and it's amazing how, like you said, you are one, you know, and you had all these dreams and goals, and now you need to now sit down and strip them off and say, where are Noni's dreams, you know, and try and find that out and find what's exciting for Noni. And those are the things that I think it's still a journey. It's still very early. And I'm loving the fact that having to hear you speak in the way that you are speaking right now, it gives me confidence as a fellow businesswoman as well to say, keep going.
Definitely.
And keep going. And not just only for a business owner, but I also believe in even someone who's in working, who's got a career. There's still an opportunity for you to grow in your career, develop yourself, study, read, do whatever, something that's going to empower you as an individual so that you can really get to a point whereby you know your purpose.
Definitely.
In closing, Shereen, what will be the message that you probably would like to share with our fellow widows today about rediscovering their purpose?
I think it's about being honest with yourself. If I could echo one message back into the community, is to say, you know, we're blessed with a whole life. I always bring it to the analogy of a storybook, and there's chapters in that book. And your first chapter is being a child, and then your second chapter is your education, possibly your third chapter is your life before marriage. There's another chapter of a marriage. There's another chapter of being a mother. You're blessed with all these stories. And as you turn the pages of your life and you end one chapter and you start a new chapter. Don't be afraid of the next chapter of your life. There's exciting stuff that's waiting for you in your future, stuff that you can't think, hear, or imagine. God's plan for you is a beautiful one, and trust that as each chapter comes to an end, another new chapter begins, and be honest with yourself about what you want. If you are given the privilege, and it is a privilege, to start over, you get to start again, Noni.
Yes.
I get
I'm
to
on the
start
start,
again.
right on the beginning.
Exactly. We get the opportunity to have a next chapter.
I call it a fresh start.
This time a little bit older, a bit more experience, a bit more stable.
Yeah.
It brings a completely different dynamic into your love, into your life, into your parenting style. Embrace that. Be honest with yourself. Choose wisely.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Shereen. Viewers out there, thank you so much really for sticking out and on this episode. I was not ready for this session personally. And I just want to say thank you so much, really, Shereen, for coming through. We really appreciate it. Viewers, we just want to remind you, don't forget to like, to share, comment, subscribe. Subscription is for free. It is Space to Breathe on our YouTube channel. And every Thursday, 8 p.m., we have a live session on TikTok. Just search Space to Breathe. Thank you.
Thank you.